Hello, horror story lovers. Tonight you're going to hear an eerie story. The title is Nightmare of the Silent Village. Please dim the light and focus on the sound. Soo Yun is a mystery writer for a famous magazine. Recently, as ideas ran dry, Soo Yun was on the verge of being kicked out by the magazine company. To clear their head and find new material, Soo Yun decided to visit a small village in the mountains found on the internet. This village, deep in the mountains, prioritized tradition over modern civilization, which piqued Soo Yun's curiosity. Soo Yun drove alone, passing major roads and entering deep into the mountains. The mountains were quiet and peaceful, and the air was clear and fresh. Upon reaching the village entrance, an old stone sign was visible. It read, Seoric Village, and underneath in small letters, in Ryongji. However, Soo Yun, who was driving, couldn't read the small letters. After passing the sign, a small building came into view. It was the village hall. Soo Yun entered the village hall, and there was a man in his 50s. He was the village chief. Soo Yun spoke, "Hello." The chief turned to look at Soo Yun with an unpleasant expression. Was it because Soo Yun was an outsider? Soo Yun explained that they were looking for a place to stay for a few days. The chief grumbled with a stern expression and told Soo Yun to go straight up the road past a cabin until they saw a house with a blue roof. The chief started to say something more but stopped, saying, "Grandmother." No, Soo Yun, slightly bothered by the chief's words, set out to find the house with the blue roof as the chief had directed. About 5 minutes away by car was the house with the blue roof. The house was L-shaped and surrounded by a shoulder-high wall. A chicken coop was visible in one corner. The door was open, and in the center of the yard, an old lady was drying peppers on the floor. Remembering the chief's words made Soo Yun feel uneasy and scared. Soo Yun slowly entered the yard and explained that the chief had sent them and they wanted to stay for a few days. The grandmother readily offered a room. The room contained only a small table, a cotton blanket, and a pillow, but it felt familiar to Soo Yun, like visiting an old grandmother's house. The grandmother kindly prepared a meal, saying it must have been a tough journey. It was different from what Soo Yun had worried about because of the chief's words. After the meal, Soo Yun decided to walk around the neighborhood of the house to aid digestion. In front of the house was a field, and behind it was a path that seemed to lead into the mountains. Soo Yun chose to walk along the path at the back. After walking for a while, a large tree and a small cabin appeared. The large tree had blue, yellow, and red ribbons tied to its branches, with burnt candles around it. Soo Yun thought the tree might be a guardian deity of the village and the small cabin a place for Jesa rituals. In Korea, Jesa is a traditional ancestral rite performed to honor deceased family members. Thinking it might make good material for a story, Soo Yun began to examine the tree and the cabin closely. The tree felt grand and mysterious, more so than from afar. The small cabin nearby felt slightly eerie. In one corner of the cabin was a small doll. Despite the eerie feeling, Soo Yun thought it would be good material for a story and picked up the doll to examine it closely. The doll was shaped like a person made of straw, dressed in traditional Korean hanbok with colorful stripes. Soo-yeon put it back in place and observed the surroundings while exploring. As the sun began to set, Soo-yeon descended the mountain and returned to the lodging. That night, Soo-yeon had a strange dream. In the dream, Soo-yeon was standing by a lake filled with fog, staring at the lake. Suddenly, a woman emerged from the lake, grabbed Soo-yeon's leg, and pulled them into the lake. She was laughing grotesquely. Soo-yeon was being pulled deeper into the lake, screaming and struggling, but helplessly submerged into the water. At that moment, Soo-yeon woke up with a scream. Soo-yeon's body was drenched in sweat as if they had been in the water. The dream was so vivid that it felt confusing even after waking up. Hearing the scream, the grandmother opened the door and came in. She asked, "What's the matter? Are you okay?" Soo-yeon, unable to speak for a while, eventually said it was just a nightmare from overworking. The grandmother, looking worried, took something out of her pocket and handed it to Soo-yeon. "Keep this with you, and you'll feel better." What Soo-yeon received was an Yunjangdo. An Yunjangdo is a traditional Korean silver knife. Though Soo-yeon tried to decline, the grandmother insisted, so Soo-yeon accepted it, feeling somewhat relieved. Soo-yeon started writing in the room for a while, using the grand tree, the eerie cabin, the doll, the scary dream, and the Yunjangdo from the grandmother as material. The writing was quickly finished. However, unable to send the manuscript from the deep mountains, Soo-yeon drove down the mountain. Alright, guys, that's it for tonight. Who put the curse on the doll? On days when it's still raining and foggy, the GPS guides you to the lake. I'll be back with another horror story next time. Thank you for being with the horror stories so far. Be careful, and good night. Suddenly, thick fog set in, and Soo-yeon had no choice but to rely more on the GPS. While continuing to drive in the direction guided by the navigation system, Soo-yeon's car fell into the lake with a thud. Even as the car submerged, the GPS continued to direct them to go straight to the center of the lake. Panicking, Soo-yeon tried to escape the car, but the seat belt wouldn't unbuckle. Water was rising inside the car, and Soo-yeon grew more frightened. No matter how hard they tried, the seat belt wouldn't come off. GPS kept saying, "Stay straight." Soo-yeon kept struggling. At that moment, they remembered the Yunjangdo that the grandmother gave them. Using the Yunjangdo, Soo-yeon cut the seatbelt and escaped from the car. Upon surfacing, the GPS's voice still seemed to echo. Frantically, Soo-yeon ran away from the lake. After running for a while, a house came into view. It was the village hall. As soon as Soo-yeon reached the village hall, Soo-yeon collapsed. When Soo-yeon regained consciousness, it was morning. Looking around, Soo-yeon found themselves back in the room at the grandmother's house. The grandmother came in with porridge, asking, "Are you okay?" What happened? Soo-yeon recounted what had happened on the way back to the lodging. Sal, Sha, pronounced in the context of Korean traditional beliefs, refers to harmful or malevolent forces that can affect a person's life. These forces are considered to bring misfortune, illness, or bad luck. After listening for a while, the grandmother said, It seems like you were possessed with Sal. She then asked, did anything happen before you had the nightmare? Soo Yun said there was nothing special, only that they had taken a walk along the mountain path behind the house after dinner, where they saw a large tree and an old cabin. Then they touched the doll there and left it as it was. As soon as the grandmother heard about the doll, her expression became serious, and she asked, a doll? What kind of doll? Soo Yun explained, a straw doll dressed in colorful hanbok. I just looked at it for a moment and left it there. The grandmother urgently suggested they go to the cabin. Soo Yun and the grandmother went to the cabin where Soo Yun had seen the doll. The doll was still there in front of the cabin. The grandmother carefully wrapped the doll in a cloth and returned to the house. Back at the house, the grandmother placed the wrapped doll in the center of the yard and went to the storage to bring another bundle. Then took a chicken from the coop and collected salt and the chicken's blood in the kitchen. The grandmother opened the bundle, taking out a bell, a brush, and yellow paper, and began writing on the paper with the chicken's blood. It was a talisman. The grandmother sprinkled salt around and plucked a few strands of Soo Yun's hair, placing them in the bundle with the doll and the talisman. Then burned the bundle, ringing the bell and murmuring to herself. She continued for a long time. Finally, Soo Yun realized the grandmother was a shaman. The grandmother explained that someone had cursed the doll, and by touching it, Soo Yun had transferred the curse. She assured Soo Yun that everything would be fine now. Soo Yun decided to leave the village before nightfall. Soo Yun thanked the grandmother and returned the Yunjangdo, and called a taxi to leave the village. As the taxi passed by the village hall, Soo Yun saw the village chief looking out the window, watching them. Alright, guys, that's it for tonight. Who put the curse on the doll? On days when it's still raining and foggy, the GPS guides you to the lake. I'll be back with another horror story next time. Thank you for being with the horror story so far. Be careful and good night.